I'm your host, Brendan Savage, and we're here today for a special podcast series, getting to know your favorite supercoacher. This is going to be a podcast series where we get to know your favorite supercoaches, and what better guest to kick it off with than the OG, Michael Attard. How are you, Mikey?
Yeah, good, mate. I always love talking about Supercoach, and this time, a bit of a different episode. I think it'll be a bit of fun, so yeah, I hope people listening enjoy it.
I think during the Supercoach episodes, we do try and get off on a tangent sometimes, just so you can show our personality sometimes, but I think this is the perfect avenue to do it, and for a long time, we've wanted to branch out from Supercoach, and I think this is the perfect starting block for it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure what I'm in for, but yeah, keen to talk either way.
Well,
so
you've got some notes there that you kind of know what I'm going to ask, but not really. So yeah. I'm going to go on a tangent sometimes and throw some curveballs at you. But firstly, Supercoach World, we started this podcast, the Supercoach Experience. It started as the Mike and Sav show. Yeah. At the time, Mikey and Emma on 96.1 were big, and I think that's kind of where we thought it flowed well, just Mike and Savs. And we kind of copied that a bit, but we started in the Supercoach Addicts page by doing live streams. What's your recollection of that one?
Yeah, no, so I remember it quite well. So I guess let's go back to the start of Supercoach. We got into it. We lived together. I've seen your notes. We're going to cover that later. Yep. Yeah, but we won't go into the depth. But that's kind of where I was playing Supercoach at the time, and I got everyone I was living into watching it, because we'd watch every game of footy, and we got into it through that. And I remember through getting in and talking about Supercoach, we heavily got addicted, and from there, yeah, we kind of got into the podcasting. We got into all these pages, and there wasn't too much podcast out there at the time. It was really just Tom Sangster's thing, and his kind of podcast. So realistically, that's why it was a different time back then.
I do want to say we were the first, but I can't definitely say that.
We were one of the first.
We were one of the first.
Like Barnsley's one was out there, but there wasn't many people doing it and streaming it out there, because back then that technology really wasn't available, was it?
Yeah, it was weird, because we're live streaming in the Facebook groups, and then all of a sudden it turned into, I don't even remember the minute it turned into a podcast. I remember, I remember in my spare room at my old house, jerseys up on the wall.
Yeah.
The infamous, there was a time where we were live streaming into a Facebook group, and my brother comes storming in and says, "Get my fucking jersey off the wall."
So there was a bit of comedy to it. So it was kind of like an open skit house, really. And we kind of just stemmed from there. And then it got to a point where me and you were the more serious super coaches out there, because we used to do it with Crabsy and Josh.
Yep.
And we were the more serious ones about it. And I don't remember it ever turning into a podcast. I remember it was more so, I think, through Skype and that, we just started to do it, because with a lot of the hate we got, there was also a lot of positive people who were actually listening, because we've always kind of performed well in Supercoach. So then people that were struggling, or not struggling, but people like Tim, we know his story.
He's going to be one of our future episodes, so we'll get into that.
So it all pieced together, it'll be kind of like a season and a bit of a plot twist and all that kind of stuff. But I guess from there, we kind of really branched off, and we never ever did it as a thing to make money or nothing like that. It was just like a hobby and a bit of fun, because like all of you guys listening, especially if you're the Supercoach players listening, it's kind of like a virus. Like, I can't stop. I'll never stop. I remember when I got into, started dating my partner, I warned her about my problem. I said, "Hey, look, I've got a footy problem. I'm not willing to miss any games. I will never, ever miss a Penrith game. And I play Supercoach, and it controls half of my life."
Well, I didn't do that when I got with my partner. So I think that's where I went wrong. My partner kind of still expects me to be around when the footy's on and pay attention to her, but...
don't get me wrong. I get in trouble still, but I set the standard from the start, and I've got a problem. I know I have a problem, but I'm not willing to fix it because I love it. So, and I guess from there we both shared the same passion, and we created this kind of brand. Now we got lucky. One of our mates on there won it, and we seem to poll and do pretty well right now. And just to get to where we are now, and having 5,000 followers on Facebook, I tell some people I know at work, and they go, they can't believe I've got something. It's not that bouncy, but it's something cool. It's enjoyable. It's smart.
It doesn't feel like it was that hard. There is a lot of work into it, but it doesn't feel like work at all. I guess like one of our first episodes, like we've come a long way. I've got to say that.
Hell of a long way.
But this isn't a SuperCoach experience episode. We will get into all the nitty gritty of that. But Mikey, Maltese, how old are you? And tell me a bit about yourself growing up.
So, yeah, I'm 29 years old. I know probably people listening and watching, I don't really look like I'm 29 years old. Yeah, almost just turned 29 not too long ago. Australian, Maltese and Pommy background. Mum's born in England. My dad's born here, but have a bit more to do with my Maltese side because I've got a pretty big family. And just growing up, I learned a lot. Or, just being around them, they're still very rich in their culture. And, been to Malta twice, heading back to Malta in 2 more weeks. So, love it, man. Growing up, obviously, I can't speak Maltese, which sucks. But growing up, it was a bit like that due to my mum's obviously, not Maltese. So because of that, it stemmed me and I never really learnt that side of things. So... but yeah, I'm one of 3 brothers, one brother, one sister, and yeah, pretty standard lifestyle. Yeah, grew up in basically Plumpton.
Plumpton.
And yeah, like I was Glendenning, but just you don't know Glendenning, Plumpton, and yeah, then when I was about 12, moved around to St. Clair, and realistically, St. Clair's a place that I realistically grew up in.
How'd you get into footy? Because like as a Maltese family, soccer is usually the main sport. Yeah. And like when I met you, which we'll get into, like no one else loved footy, but no one else liked footy. And you were just obsessed with it.
Yeah, so I got obsessed from a young age. As I said, like, both my parents aren't from Malta. My dad was born here. So the Maltese side wasn't massive at home. It was more so because of my grandparents. But my uncle was a big Penrith fan. He was a Penrith member. And he used to always go to the games. And one day, he's like, oh, let's go to, because my parents didn't put me into footy when I was 4 or 5, nothing like that. They put me into swimming. So realistically, my dad wasn't a big footy fan. He is now because of myself. And my mum was a big footy fan. When I was actually born, is an interesting one for you. Penrith versus Canberra in the grand final. And I was dressed in green and in Canberra stuff.
Oh, my God.
But, that green is my favourite colour. But become a Penrith supporter. But yeah, Mum was pretty big into footy, but I didn't get into it because of him. It was because my uncle used to take me to the Penrith games, and I remember going young, and that just got me into it, and I loved it, and it was like the first thing I really got into, so I obsessed over it. Like, I was that bad where I was printing off Microsoft Word, like, sheets of all the players, like, photos that you get off the internet, and then I'd take them down to the game, get them to sign each one.
God.
I've got 8 years worth of footy cards. I've got, like, signed, like, a Cameron Smith bobblehead sign. Like, I was crazy into it, and, like, it's got to the point where it was all I was into, so I was studying it. Like, I could name every side 1 to 17, and then I could name the New South Wales Cup side and the Holden Cup side, and realistically, that's why when we got the SuperCoach, I was like, oh, this is perfect for me. Perfect. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into footy.
It's funny because until SuperCoach happened, I wasn't like that at all.
Yeah.
I'm probably like that a bit more now, but like I feel like you were obsessed with it.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Even the New South Wales Cup back then was more prestigious than it kind of is now.
Yeah, 100%. And the Jersey flag and all that, like it was awesome. Like I used to watch all grades, and I didn't have Foxtel at the time too, so realistically, I was listening to the radio. Like when it wasn't a Channel 9 game, I was listening to every game on the radio, and I remember always pushing it like it was me, like pushing Dad, and then eventually, because of how hard I was into it, Dad got us my first Penrith membership. Oh, that was the greatest. Like, and back then too, that's why I'm not one of those bandwagon fans. Like I got into them around 2002-ish.
Yeah.
So I got into them right when they won that grand final, and then after that we sucked for a long time. Like,
and you stuck by them. You were.
Yeah, never ever
unlike some others
to turn the table, but that's why we're a great club at the moment. I'm not one of those bandwagon fans. Like I deserve to see my team with some success. It's awesome because we went through years where we just were mud every year. We're battling for the wooden spoon, and our glory from that 03 grand final was over fast. And we just it was painful. And I've been going to games since like easily like 04, 05, and I've seen a lot of the team go just to kind of what it is now. Every game packs out no matter who it is. It's awesome.
I know it's hard to kind of say it from the outside, but like during them tough periods, was it hard to support them?
It was, but I loved them that much that it's just, I stayed loyal by my side. That's my team, and no matter what. I just used to ride it. And I remember back in school, like it was big with all my mates in school, Jake being one of them, who's obviously on our podcast. Well, we used to hang out a lot, and we'd all have different teams. One would go for the Roosters, Jake would go for the Sharks. And when we used to play those teams, when we lose, I used to hate it because I used to give people shit and I'd get it back. And I remember going to school and I was always like, dreading it because I'd cop it from Jake when the Sharks would beat Penrith. And I used to take a toll. Like literally, even now, to this day, I'm still like that. Like when Penrith lose, Ash, my partner, leaves me alone because I don't take the losses well. Like it controls my mood sometimes, which is crazy. Like that's why lucky they're winning a lot. Yeah. But it does. And when I was younger, like it realistically would control the way I feel, which is crazy. But that's how it was.
I've never been that passionate about a side. I think that's why. Like
you changed.
I've changed. I've changed a few times, but. Like having that passion for a side, I wish I could have that.
Yeah.
I've got it for my Supercoach side and my players like my Tommy Trebojeviches and stuff, but I think like that's just it's the ultimate Supercoach player, isn't it? Like someone passionate about their club and stuff, and it's good you can split your brain Supercoach wise and your team wise because like I've seen teams out there who you can tell if they go for like the Broncos or something, they load up their side. I know you kind of...
I did at the start.
You'll get in Hosking. You'll get in, like, the Clearys and stuff.
That all makes sense. But back in the day, I remember I had Michael Jennings, Michael Gordon. I had, like... Because that's how it was. And then I started to realise, and then when you learn how to play the game, I learned how to separate my heart from my head. And I know a lot of the serious players, they know how to do it. It's tough, but it's handy when the team's performing well because it's fun going and watch the games live and you've got a lot of these players. That's what's so good about owning Cleary. I know everyone else is, but it's always enjoyable going down there watching it because 9 times out of 10 you've got the armband on him. You've got something on him, so it's enjoyable. It's good.
You had the armband on him last weekend. There live?
I was, and I was fuming because wasn't. I'm not going to blame anyone else, but I was not captaining him. I wasn't going to do it, and kind of spoke to Timmy and Hads, and they got me ready for it. And it was going to be a big game by him before he got injured. It was going to be a big game by him.
Yeah, it was.
I was going to take the safe option in VC, but because of the position I'm in and a bit behind, I want to make the bold moves, and it didn't work out for him. But I still went up in the rankings. I had a good week still.
Well, I don't know when this is going to be released officially, so I guess talking about that week, people might get confused about it, so we'll move on from that. But you're as passionate now as you were when I first met you.
Yeah, never
with
changed.
SuperCoach and footy. You got me into SuperCoach, and can you tell me about like how you got your other friends into SuperCoach? Because I remember it was a long drag for you. Like it took some convincing to start me doing SuperCoach.
I know this sounds crazy, but I reckon I've easily convinced about 50 people to play SuperCoach. Like honestly, like I've convinced so many people, and I think that's why I get messaged about so many times. Like when people in their first seasons, like by friends that know I play SuperCoach, message me for advice, and like about 10 or 20, like sometimes a week, and like every now and like heaps of people, which I love about it. Like it's literally, I've made so many friends from it, and getting people into it, it's just how passionate I am about it. That's all I think about. It's all I talk about. On the weekends, it's, no matter what activity I'm doing, whether I'm at a party or I'm going out or at dinner, I've always like have to check on it. It controls in a sense. So like, obviously, I go out with my friends, and none of my friends are into footy. So I used to hang out with you guys, and we're always big into footy. But the friend group I have now, there's 20 of us, and I think out of the 20 of us, there's maybe 6 of us that are hard into the footy. So I used to talk
that took some convincing as well, didn't it?
I used to talk about footy so much to them. Then my brother started to get back into the footy. I'd take him to games, and then they started doing it. Just download the app. I explained these. I talk about it a lot. Got them to do that. And when they started doing it, they're going, like, oh, this is awesome. Because realistically, playing SuperCoach makes footy so much more enjoyable. And to people that have a big footy brain, and this might be people that aren't playing SuperCoach, if you know your footy, get into SuperCoach, because it's one way where you can use what you've learned and put it towards something. Like realistically, you could have that one breakout year and you could be like Timmy and win the 50 grand. And even if you don't, like, it doesn't matter. It's enjoyable. And I feel like, you know, I used to watch every game no matter what, but I more so like to watch every other game. Like, we all know, like, you know, you might be versus an example, the Roosters, and you've got James Tedesco and he scores against your own club. Everyone around the stadium will be like booing, but you'll be there going, which is, you know what I mean? Like, which
happened on the weekend.
Which is crazy. I'd never ever used to do that before SuperCoach.
I feel like it's converted a lot of fans of clubs into into people who don't support their own clubs sometimes because they've got like 4 players from one side and their team's doing shit. Like, it's so hard
I feel like it's got people to watch more than the one
game.
For
sure. Like, they've got to invest more time in it, more time and money into SuperCoach, don't you reckon? Because I feel like there's 150,000 SuperCoaches and they're all hardcore fans of rugby league.
Yeah, sometimes I don't think they understand. Like, you know, when you really strip it back and you talk about these kind of topics, you can kind of see like the impact it does have, you know, both good and bad. Because as I said, like, I wouldn't be the only one. There's some ones where the SuperCoach side, like footy, would control their, you know, mood, and which is shit. But like, you know, I just try and have fun with it. Like, it's so much fun, man. Like, it's a way of you're watching something, but also there's like I love anything with strategies. Like, my whole life, I like things that are challenging and something where I can, like, you know, like a bit of a game plan. It's also why I'm a very big fan of Survivor, because that whole game is strategy. So, you know, and that's why it's, you know, you can use and apply those kind of skills.
It is kind of like a TV show and a series, isn't it? It's kind of like you've got to go through the bad to come out the other end really good, and like you go through your highs and your lows, and it's pretty fun, SuperCoach, and you got me into it, you got me hooked, and I think my wife will hate you forever for it.
Yeah, but like think about it through that. Like, obviously we stopped hanging in the same friend group in a sense, and realistically without SuperCoach we might not be still as close as we are now. So
it's true.
It's crazy how that works. But I remember with you, it was persistent. I eventually got you into doing it, and once you started to work out how it worked, because as I said, we were always around the TV watching footy on our weekends, and we just have different friends over, and we're doing that. That was our pastime, man, and I guess that's why it was perfect to get everyone there into it.
I ranked in the top 1,000 the year after you convinced me, and I was like, I thought I was God. Like, I thought I was the best SuperCoacher ever, but I think when you follow it like an algorithm and like buy plan and stuff, it's not that hard most years. But going back to, do you remember how we met?
Yeah, I do. So Krabsy, who I just mentioned before, he was one of the original guys we did the live streams with. I become good friends with him through, so we used to go same high school, different years, but we worked together at Macca's, and that's how we basically become best friends. It was his 18th birthday party, and it was most of the guys, you know, a few guys from work, and mostly guys from his year in school, and we went to that. I went to that. I think I was like 17 or something at the time, and you were there. And I remember that was the first time I met you. And like from the moment I met you, bro, we just clicked. Because at the same time, I was really good mates with our mate Lockie.
Yeah.
And through him, he was really good mates with you. You basically grew up with him. So because I was really close with him, like me, it was basically us two and Lockie hanging out that whole party. And then we got on from that moment, I remember.
It's funny, like these days, you meet someone that some of your friends are friends with, but you feel like you already know them anyway, just because of like social media and stuff. And I feel like that's what it was back then, but there was no hardly any social media back then.
I knew your brother before I knew you. I knew Nick.
But like, I knew all the names that like the Michael Attards and stuff before I'd ever met anyone.
Yeah, but word of mouth, like, this guy's mad, we're hanging out with him. Like, you always knew like your friends who they were hanging out with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, even to this day, it's the same thing.
But yeah, I remember it too. You're really little.
Yeah, I was
you were like, I legit thought you were 13, and then you started speaking. You're like, he had exactly the same voice as he has now.
Yeah. I always used to, like, a lot of people would compare my voice to Darren and Lockyer because I was very croaky, and I was this little guy, couldn't grow facial, still can't. But I had no facial. I always looked back, I looked at it, I was like, bro, I look so young.
So you did mention multiple friend groups as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of been weird in the teen years because like everyone grows up, everyone like jumps friend groups and stuff. Obviously, we've stayed friends, but we were in a friend group and that kind of split up, kind of.
Yeah.
How did you see it from your point of view?
Yeah, it was like you go through different points in your life because I went to from the high school I went to. After I was like, I realistically, because I was working all the time, my main friends become my Macca's friends. So I really stopped, like, I didn't carry any of my high school friends with me after. Like, still, like, friendly with some of them. And, like, example, Jake went to a different high school and everyone told, like, I stopped being, not stopped being friends, but I didn't hang out with them. We're usually your friend group after school.
Yeah.
Usually stays in mine didn't. It was my Macca's friends. And because I was working with Krabsy, my group after school were you guys.
Yeah.
That happened. Got to a point where, the things I wanted to do, like I was 18, I wanted to party, and I felt like what everyone else was doing, we're just watching sport, going to the tab. I was like, I felt 40. So that's how that's how it felt at the time.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was a bit of an awkward in between because my brother was best mates with one of the guys we live with. Yeah. And then he just wanted to stay home. You wanted to party, and they hated that. And
and it used to come through a bit of problems. Like, I got holding nothing against any of those guys.
No. We're still mates.
And maybe who I was in a way, but it got to the point where my brother's mates were going to a festival, and like obviously, my brother's mates, and my brother said to me, he wasn't 18 at the time. He goes, "You want to go to that festival? Go." So Krabs actually come with me. We went to this festival. There was Future Music Festival. We went, and I had the time of my life. Like, it was the best. And I never ever got along with my brother's friends. Like, my best mates now were enemies at one point. And I went there. They dropped all, and I had the best time. And they had a good time, and they kept inviting me out. And from that, we ended up, for one point, we took over the house.
Jesus.
The amount of house parties. Like, I'm telling you, that was one of the funnest times of my life.
Yeah.
And you were always a good sport about it. But we kind of took over that house. And from like that one time that Brad did, which is my brother, my brother Brad. I hung out with them. And ever since then, that become my main friend group.
Yeah.
And that was about 11 years ago. And to this day, I still hang out with all those guys.
Yeah.
So.
And I feel like if you have siblings, you're friends with one of them has friends and they all kind of gel together. Like
you and Jack.
You probably made friends with people that have come into the group as well. And it's kind of like me with my brother. He's friends with all my friends as well. So it's pretty crazy how you grow up hating your brother, being like, fuck, no, I don't want to hang out with him. And then
me and Brad, we didn't used to get along. Like we didn't get along really well. And it was most of it was my fault because I was pretty I didn't like sharing friend groups. I never used to like it because he used to hang out with us too.
Yeah.
But I didn't really like it. I didn't like sharing friends. And then I realised, and then like a bit of a hypocrite now, like doing, sharing with his friends. But, it's 10, 11 years now. But it's funny how you kind of hop and change in different things. But I feel pretty settled now.
Yeah, no, pretty good. So you talk about that house. We've got to talk about the house.
Yeah.
So I think it was probably 6 to 12 months after I turned 18. Were you 18 yet?
Yeah. I was 18, so I was.
I might have been 19 then.
Yeah, no, I was nearly 19 because I remember I've got it all in the Facebook memories. I was definitely 18 and I was nearly 19 because I remember when we had that birthday party at my nana's house. Yeah. We were living because we got a roommate's photo. Yeah. So I know before I was 19, we were moving out, and it always comes up in my memory. So how that happened is obviously my mum and dad separated when I was about 18, and my mum went and lived with her mum. My dad went and lived with him. Like, no one wanted to stay there and they were going to go. But Dad wanted to keep the house. And then I come up with the idea. And everyone was in a thing.
Brilliant idea.
I reckon, you might say that was a stupid... I learned a lot about myself in that time. I had fun, man. Yeah. That was some of the funnest years of my life. It was crazy, and some of the stuff was crazy, but I learned a lot about myself. I was 18, 19, learning how to be an adult with 4 other guys doing the same thing, and it was a different dynamic. And I remember hitting yous all up. I said, boys, we can live here. Got a good deal. We're just paying my dad. We're not going for a real estate or nothing like that. And it was a 4-bedroom home, nice prime spot in St. Clair, and oh, man, it was like a frat house, eh? We used to have every weekend, who wants to come over for drinks? We'd party, a drinking game. There were different people over every week, and it was cool, man. It was fun.
I look back, Facebook memories is a big one for this.
Yeah, it's always in there, man.
I always go back, and there's always stuff there. The other day, I opened up my Facebook memories, and there was a status saying, "Who wants to come over for an orgy tonight?"
Which never happened, but we'd have people over.
There was.
Oh, okay. Yeah, not orgies. There was some time to, you know what I mean. You get some drinking games, and bro, we used to get some random people come over, bro. Because at the time, I worked in Macca's, so I had a lot of my Macca's friends come around. You have a lot of your friends around, and we made a lot of friends from that house, eh? Yeah.
Well, the amount of people that I meet recently, in the last few years, and some of them say, "I know you," and I'm like, "How the fuck do you know me?" More lately now than often, it's about the SuperCoach podcast because all the guys we're meeting play SuperCoach, no NRL, but apart from that, they know me because they've been to our old house in St. Clair.
Oh, really?
And there was this one. I went to a wedding and I was talking to this couple, and do
you know what their name was? Because that means I would know who they are.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Oh yeah, okay.
I'll blurb that out.
Okay.
But like, apparently she came over to our St. Clair house, and
because of the girls we used to hang with at I used from Macca's. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
And we just used to have so many different people over there every weekend. I mean, you had to be there. We're probably talking it up more than it was, but a
lot of people would have similar stories that they'd resonate with. But it was awesome because
my mate, one of the mates we were talking about, he worked at a chemist. And that house, he used to get all different types of things for us that we would experiment with.
Sounds really bad, but yeah.
It was, looking back, dangerous, eh?
Yeah, but look, everyone goes through those
stages.
Of
course.
Like, some people don't. Some people a bit more straight edge, but everyone has a different perspective in life. And as I said, we were all like between 18 and 20. So we were in like, growing up in a sense, and I think that lasted for maybe 2 years, and then at one point there was 4 of us. We got a 5th person in, which
in a 4-bedroom house.
Yeah, we had a 5th person in, which is pretty crazy. And then after that, a couple of them split up, and at one point it was just me and you left, and I got, which was a whole big saga. I got one of my mates, who actually one of my only friends that I went to high school with, and he actually ended up becoming best mates with my brother. So then we rekindled, and through there, we used to go out and party, and there was nowhere else to go, and it was freezing. So we just come in, and we had a house to hang out in, and that kind of caused a bit of a divide between our other mates that we lived with. But looking back at that now, I was a mate that was in need of a place to stay, and although we put it to a vote, and my vote lost, and I remember saying, it might have been a bit of a scumbag, but I said, it's my dad's house. Sorry, I'm pulling this card. I'm just asking you to be nice. I'm pulling you in. You need somewhere to stay. And I know a few other people didn't like that, and they left because of that. But you stayed the whole time. And you're always a good sport, because we used to party when we'd party late. Party. So and you were always such a good sport. Like, there was sometimes you come like, Mike, come on. I go, shit, sorry.
And because I wanted to join in sometimes, but bloody, I'd work at 6 o'clock. I was working every time. I work weekends all the time back then. So.
And there were sometimes where you did join in.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And you're still, all my mates now that I hang with because of those times.
They're cool. Yeah. And I remember once, me and my wife now, we were staying over, and we woke up at like 5 o'clock because there was people coming back from like a festival or something.
Yeah.
And it was so loud. We had to go back to her parents' house to sleep for the rest of the night because it was so bad. But like, we had that option. So actually, everybody had that option because everyone has. It's not like everyone was estranged from their parents.
That's what I mean. Like some of you guys just chose not to live in at the house at the time for certain individual reasons. Where there was some that like actually needed a place to stay, and they did it for more space and just to do something different. And
no, I look back at that, and the hygiene obviously probably wasn't there at the time.
And we used to have a lot of fights in house.
Yeah,
we used to have a lot of arguments because people weren't doing this, people weren't doing that, and I used to get fed up because I felt like I used to do a lot to the fact that I didn't want to do anything anymore. And obviously, I think sometimes we used to clash in that because obviously, it was my family home, so.
It was hard for you to let go of and like.
Yeah, well, that's the house.
Not necessarily let go of, but like treat it the way 4 teenagers would treat it.
Yeah, because we had that house was fully furnished with all stuff. So like at the same time, I had a duty of care, which after the house, Dad was fuming. Like that house was.
It was bad.
It was fucked. Like it was so sorry for lying. It was filthy. Like it was bad. But he ended up redoing up the house anyway, so all good.
Yeah, well, it looks amazing now. I remember the same box of cereal being there for the whole time I was there.
I remember once we there was a photo on our Facebook where we had a fridge, in the fridge, like what was in there, and all it was drink and butter.
Yeah. So
there was like juice and one thing, alcohol. I'm like, bro, what we didn't eat.
we didn't.
Well, like the fridge had nothing in it. I remember very rarely we cooked dinner. Like I remember every now and then, like I cooked like spaghetti meatballs. I said, we're learning. We're learning, bro.
How did we survive? Jesus Christ.
It was good times.
Yeah, no, back then, did not care about health, didn't go to the gym or anything. We loved going to the park and playing footy, though.
Yeah, we loved that. Even back then, we were big on them. We used to have the tennis courts at the back. We used to go play tennis sometimes. And we had not a park, but it was like a reserve at the back of our house. So it was a good spot. It was handy.
I remember we went to a park and had like 10-on-10 rugby league match.
Yeah, they were fun in St. Mary's.
It was very good. One of the guys tackled my brother, and he dislocated his knee.
Yeah.
That was pretty bad.
Gruesome, yeah.
It was pretty bad. So I guess, Yeah. So summing up that house, it was a good time. It was a good time.
I think it was a pivotal point for me. Like, I had that party set to learn a lot. Like, I feel like it was a pivotal point in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I learned a lot from that time. And, you know, my parents just broken up. So it was me, like, kind of like, oh, yeah, I'm not like, obviously I could have gone and lived with them, but it was like me in a sense, like, you know, out on my own kind of, you know, like, just do something different. Like, I remember I was, you know, obviously just come out of school. So I was going into work.
Yeah.
First full-time job. I was manager at Macca's at the time at 18. So, yeah, I was working a lot too. So it was a pretty crazy time in my life. But, yeah, it was a pivotal point in my life, and we become good friends from that, and yeah, stopped becoming friends with some of them from that. But
not really. Not really at the same time.
I just don't hang out with them all the time.
Yeah.
But whenever I see them, I'm still good mates.
Not as close as
you never forget those times.
At the same time, like look back at all the friends we had then. Like there's only a select few that. Like, there was friends back then that I thought I'd be friends with, like, for life.
Yeah,
I haven't spoken to them in years. Like,
yeah, 100%. Like, you know, your Jordos and, like... And
Jordo's a weird one because he pops in and out.
Like, he was my best friend, and then I got into OzTag, and I started becoming mates with him again. Like, yeah, it was some weird ones. But even, like, with the mates now, like, I'm in a group of 20, and about half of them we were... like mates back then, they were coming over. Yeah. And even back then, we used to have like 20 or something people coming over, and there's maybe 25% of us left that hang out together.
Yeah.
A lot of them would, and that's just life. It's like, it's hard. Everyone, like, look at the age we are at now. People get married, they have kids.
Yeah.
People move. Like, it's hard to keep people together.
Brandon Laws. Bloody.
Yeah, there was still some random ones, bro. And I know to you guys listening at some names, but... yeah. It was crazy part.
Well, back in that time, I was aspiring to be a rapper.
Yeah, and, I forget about that.
Yeah.
You guys that don't know. See, we got to do an episode on you too.
Oh, no. But I was aspiring to be a rapper, and, like, we'd always make music.
Parodies.
And I'm pretty sure this is where, like, or the creation side of, like, this is how the podcast has come, because we've always done this sort of stuff.
Yeah, we used to do videos on YouTube, which are now embarrassing as fuck.
I sent one the other day. It's a YouTube channel called The Broders.
Yeah, which was what we used to call ourselves The Broders at the time, and pretty gay when I look back at it now.
Yeah, and what we did is we did little skits, and it was just all our friends. There was no purpose to it, but it was just us doing things.
Because we used to, back at the time, like, you know, like Janoskians and all those kind of guys that would do all those YouTube things. And I guess you loved all that kind of shit. So we just do it like that. And we just kind of had a bit of fun with it, bro. That's what we would do in our pastime, like after school and that's what we do in our free time.
And bloody dancing at Narrangindi and stuff.
That video actually got some views, man, because Gangnam Style was huge at the time.
Yeah,
we did a Gangnam Style parody, and...
It only got 1,000 views,
which was huge for us.
It was huge for us at the time.
Like, come on, like, I'm not talking massive, but, like, you know, big for an 18-year-old.
Yeah, did some crazy shit there, bloody.
Yeah.
Do you remember? I can cut this out if you want.
Okay.
I've never told anyone this.
Yeah.
Do you remember we kissed?
Do you reckon people would judge us? Yeah, I don't find that weird. I'll kiss half my mates now, bro.
No, we tongue kissed.
Oh, what? I don't remember that.
Because we're trying to get with some girls, and we're playing truth.
Oh, we're playing truth or dare. Yeah, so we used to do, but that was always tactically. Like, it wasn't like he's married. Like, we're both.
No,
we're both straight. But
yeah, of course.
Yeah, we did things. Yeah, we
did some stupid shit like that.
But we did that to progress with the girls at the time, which no brainer, because it worked.
It worked. It worked.
It worked. Yeah, 100%. But
I mean, sometimes it wouldn't. It depends on who you were, because there was guys in our group who would do the same thing, never had a chance.
18 to 21-year-olds, we used to get some good-looking girls over at the time, and we have our own place. People would come there and they'd feel comfortable because there was no parents there, because it was a group of mates, and it was kind of like it was a halfway house.
You know, we got a spa. The girls were very happy to take their clothes off.
Well, after this episode, you got to remember which girls they are. I'm getting too old for it.
I remember this.
I do remember we had a lot of good times in the spa, because I remember attaining that spa. Do you remember how we obtained that spa? It was actually Nick got that spa, and it was on Gumtree, and it was like, come pick it up and you get it for $100. We just had to take it down a 2-story set of stairs, and that spa was awesome. We got it for nothing. Like, this is like a $2,000
I'm pretty sure I was working.
Yeah, I must have been working. We're there all sitting in the spa out the back.
Because I would have had no interest in getting a spa.
But as soon as Nick said it, I was like, hell yeah.
And that spa,
that
spa had a lot of chemicals. human chemicals in it.
We used to like clean it and shit.
Yeah, of course.
But it was good because it just added, because it was basically, as I just said, it was like a halfway house, and it was like a batch. And I was like, that's what it was like. And we used to always put things in there, and so we used to play. We used to have a feud with the next door neighbour.
Russell Fensington.
We used to play tennis in the backyard. We used to do
play cricket.
We used to have backyard cricket pitch. We used to do it a lot.
Bowling full pace at the fence.
Yeah, and he used to get the shit because it backed into his fence, and we'd do that. And I think it just used to piss him off because we had a field out the back of our house, and we were in this little backyard just going boop.
Lots of arguments and stuff, but we got over that. And I mean, life is pretty busy for yourself now. You worked at Macca's, then you worked at Guzman's.
Glory Jeans in between that.
You did a stint at Glory Jeans, and now what are you doing? You're doing some asphalting.
Yeah. So started at 14, got into Macca's, loved working when I was younger. I know, crazy. So worked as soon as I could. As soon as I was 14, I had a job. Actually, the reason I got a job was at St. Clair High School. I used to be like in a lot of leadership groups, and they asked me if you wanted to come into... They go, your service is amazing, because I was doing like some servicing. And then from there, she goes, come in and you got a job at Macca's. So I got a job at Macca's. I was really good at it. So after 18, I got offered a management role. After I got the management role, I did that for a while until it really when I started to party with these other guys. I was working every weekend. And when you get good at Macca's, you're working all the prime time shifts. So Friday night, Saturday, I had no life. So I got out of the Macca's game, but still stayed in retail because that's all I knew. Become a restaurant manager at Glory Jeans. Done a year of that. Didn't like just the coffee side. So got back into food and did Guzman or Gomez, and I store managed that for 3 years. That was fun. It was good. I even at one point I did like a 3-month role in that, and I was called the fry guy. So a fun fact to anyone that loves Guzman's, I launched fries for all the Guzman or Gomez in New South Wales. So I trained all the franchisees because it was a big move for them.
Yeah,
they've never done fries. So I used to run I did a workshop. They'd come into a store, and I'd like in a room like this, and I would teach and train them on how to use fries. And then I was like a food inspector. I'd randomly pop up in their store without them knowing it.
Oh my God!
I'd go and I'd try their fries, and it was such a fun job for 3 months because I was 22 doing that, bro. And because of all my Macca's experience, they got me to do it, and that's all these like nacho fries and that. Yeah, I launched all that stuff, which was crazy, and it was a fun time. And then I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I don't have a life. I'm over retail. I wasn't happy with how much I was getting paid with all the time that I'm putting in. Because when you're a store manager, you're on call 24/7. Like I had a time once when I was working at Guzman's, I had a bit of a big weekend, and one of the Mexicans called me. Hey,
one of the Mexicans.
Yeah, well, they were Colombian to be more exact. The fries on fire. I'm like, what do I have to do with this? And I was the store manager of West in. Under the not Eiffel Tower, the Centrepoint Tower in Western Sydney, and I was at that one, so I was working pretty far there, and I had to deal with that, and like I was just sick of dealing with that kind of stuff. And my brother was an asphalt at the time. My dad's also an asphalter. They both did it together, and I hit my dad. I said, "I'm so unhappy. I'm over this. I know it's a big career jump. Like I've got no experience. I've never done any construction, but I said." What do you think? And he goes, it's funny enough, I've got a role that I think you'd be perfect at because I'm really good at managing. So I went over there managing trucks, doing the paperwork on the field. It's called quality assurance. And since then, I've been asphalting for 4 years. That's why I miss the podcast a lot because we don't have a finish time. It's not a 6 or 2 job. It's 6 a.m. and you finish when the job finishes. And because our job is we're waiting for trucks to get the road out. We're waiting for trucks to put the road in. Like there's just so much waiting involved but it's a job where I make all my money from overtime, and I work a lot of weekends, and I don't say no to many weekends because overtime. I do rails on the weekends when I can, so I do that. Done that for 4 years, and it's not the best job in the world, but I like it. Pays the bills, like it's a pretty well paying job, and I like it. It's better. I get a bit more life. It's optional to work weekends. I feel like I'm more in control. Like I'm working a lot, but I feel I have a choice. Like I'm a bit more in control.
The retail industry is just. You don't want to be in it if you're a...
it's hard. Like it pays a lot better now.
Yeah.
But I feel like
it pays very good.
Yeah, I feel like I'm good in that kind of things, and like one day I might, like if I'm doing well, have like a little boost or a little side thing.
Yeah.
I feel like I could do that, but that's what I'm doing at the moment, and just progressing through that. Operate machinery.
Well, very good for people that listen. That's a little insight into why he misses, and I feel like it's very hard to come across a job where you can be available at the same time every week. So
yeah, Macca's, or we never used to skip a beat, and that's because with Macca's, as I said, I was working on the busy shifts. Yeah. I'd get the Monday, Tuesdays off all the time.
Well, with me, I was working in Aldi at the time, and Tuesday night was like a busy changeover night for specials and stuff. So
we used to do Wednesdays.
We used to do Wednesdays because I could never do Tuesdays, which was it was pretty bad. Like. You miss a full day worth of listens, really.
Yeah, that's why we got such a big panel, because we do this and we like to commit to this. But
we all work.
Time, yeah, and that's a priority. Like, as we said, we're not doing this for money. So, you know, realistically, you've got to prioritize those kind of things.
All right. Before we finish up, who's winning the comp this year?
I said it to you in the car, and I might have a bit of, my Penrith cap on here, but I think we can do three-peat. I think it'll be a harder season for them this year because the other teams are playing better. But we had a shaky start. We're sitting at the top of the table, and we have experience come that time. We're starting to find these guys that can fill in to replace these other. So I feel like we can do the three-peat. I feel like we've got it in us. If we don't, and I'm wrong, do I think the Broncos can do it? No, I don't know. I'm going to say Souths. If we can't do it, Souths can. And I think Broncos is maybe the smoky. Maybe. I think it's.
It's me asking you this question, so I'll take your answer, but I think Rabbitohs is a good one if it's not Penrith.
Yeah, but I believe in my side, and a lot of people don't, because Penrith will become the new Melbourne Storm that people just love to hate them, and that's fine.
Look at Penrith, though, letting in no points week to week.
Top of the table. Yeah, I know. We're equal with Brisbane right now. They've got 2 games on us, but look at that defence, man.
Daly M, player of the year.
I said at the start of the year, Cleary, and it sucks now with this injury. It's going to be harder for him to get it. But I kind of agree with one of your takes in Cody Walker, or a smoky could be someone like... Actually, I'm going to say Payne Haas. Payne Haas keeps polling every game he plays. It'll be him, Sean Johnson, or Cody Walker, but... I'm going to say Payne Haas.
You think Nico Hines has a chance of backing up as well?
Yeah, but he doesn't play bottom 8 sides every week, and he sucks against the bottom 8 side. So
Jesus.
He'll go close, but they're really bad against top sides. So they got a pretty nice run to end the year, though.
I really like the Sharks as a premiership contender, but the last few weeks too much.
I think they'll come finals time.
Just before we finish, I want to get an actual live reaction before you look at team lists. Greg Marju out.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
You're kidding. Why?
Missed the team bus, apparently.
So what, he's going to be out? It's frigging Tuesday.
Yep.
Well, I've got extra numbers. It's fine. But now it's like...
It's annoying, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, 100%, because he's only like 17% owned or something like that, and 130 last time. Definitely out, not even in the 20...
He's not named.
Is it because the coaches got angry at him?
Well, I've been looking at it while you've let's have a look. Jack John's not in the 22 at all.
For fuck's sake, man! I thought you were going to do something good for the reaction.
All right, cheers for coming on, Mikey. I think it was only fitting that you were the first episode. Moving on from the Mike and Sav show to the SuperCoach experience. Whilst you've been out more than you've been in, you're still a big part of the show.
Yeah, 100%, man, and I forever will be. That's why we've got a big panel now. We've explained it so we can all do those things, and it's cool because we're all pretty close due to this podcast, and we out back to the podcast, and the fact that we started it, it's like who's a really popular combo? It's like, back in the day, like Fatty Vorden and Sterlo. And like if you're going to split them up, you can't.
Yeah.
It's their foundation on the footy show. So, that's...
I feel like they are split up at the moment, though.
Yeah,
right?
no, but back when you were thinking that, you know what I mean? It's like that happening, or, this
Hindy
is
and Fletch.
Hindy and Fletch.
Yeah.
It's like trying to replace Fletch. They work well as a duo. They started their thing together, so it's the same thing realistically.
Yeah.
So, whether or not I can be on it as consistent as I'll still be around, and I'm never giving up SuperCoach.
Well, exactly. I think our podcast has a good model where it's just like we just got a few people that everyone's gotten used to listening to, and it doesn't matter who's available that week because they'll be happy to listen.
Yeah, and it might sound cocky, but to end on that, I truly believe that another one of us will take it out in the coming year. And I always said it to myself, I truly believe I can win it one day. And I feel like if you can't, like, you know, that's my goal, and I truly believe I've got it in me. Whether or not I do it anytime soon, I'm only young. I can do it.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of the winners, like Timmy was 37 when he won. We're only not even 30. I'm 30. You're 29.
29, yeah. Deck was young.
Declan was young. But all the other winners have been old, like Wilfred.
Doesn't mean that a young guy can't win it.
No, it doesn't, but it means you're going to be playing for a long time.
Yeah.
And you've got ample chance to do it. Just don't get stuck in old habits. I feel like a lot of the old SuperCoaches kind of get stuck in bad
That's what's good about this season, because there's a lot of different changes with the buy rounds.
It's like a nice medium of it.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for coming on, Mikey. We have our other show to record now, but...
Thanks for having me on. It was a good